There's a moment that quietly destroys attraction in many relationships, and most men don't even realize they're doing it. A woman pulls back slightly. Her energy changes. Her texts feel colder. And instantly, the man panics internally. So he starts explaining. He explains why he said that thing, why he didn't text earlier, why he acted distant, why she misunderstood him, why he's actually a good guy. And the strange part is, the more he explains himself, the less emotionally attractive he becomes. Not because communication is bad, but because constant self-justification signals something deeper psychologically. It signals fear. Fear of losing approval. Fear of being misunderstood. Fear of not being enough without persuasion. And mature women can feel that immediately. Some of the strongest attraction a woman will ever feel comes from a man who can remain emotionally grounded without rushing to defend every part of himself. So why does explaining yourself slowly kill emotional tension? And why did her interest suddenly return the moment he stopped trying to convince her? That's what we're unpacking today. Most men think attraction is built through reassurance, overcommunication, and constant clarification. But relationship psychology shows something more complicated. Human beings are emotionally affected less by words and more by emotional stability, especially in long-term attraction. You're going to learn why over-explaining often weakens masculine presence, why emotionally secure people don't constantly defend themselves, and how one subtle shift in behavior can completely change the emotional dynamic between you and a woman. And this is not about becoming cold. It's not about manipulation. It's about understanding emotional energy at a deeper level. Because sometimes the most attractive thing a man can say is less. A man notices his girlfriend becoming distant after a social event. Maybe she seemed irritated, maybe quieter than usual. On the drive home, instead of staying calm, he immediately starts defending himself. "I didn't mean it like that. You're misunderstanding me. I was just joking. I was only talking to her because she asked me something." Now, logically, nothing sounds wrong here. But emotionally, something changed. Because what she feels underneath those explanations is anxiety. And psychology has long shown that human attraction is deeply connected to perceived emotional certainty. People trust calmness. They feel tension around emotional scrambling. When a man compulsively explains himself, he unintentionally communicates, "Please see me correctly. Please don't think badly of me. Please don't withdraw your approval." That emotional energy changes the power dynamic instantly. A mature woman doesn't lose attraction because a man made a mistake. She loses attraction when he stops trusting his own emotional center. This is why emotionally grounded men don't react to every emotional shift. They listen, they stay present, they clarify when necessary, but they don't chase understanding like their identity depends on it. And ironically, the less desperate a man becomes to control perception, the safer he feels emotionally. Which leads to the next mistake most men make. Think about the early stages of attraction. Why do emotional sparks feel so intense? Because uncertainty creates emotional engagement. Not toxic confusion, but mystery. The human brain becomes emotionally activated when it cannot completely predict someone. That's part of what creates intrigue. Now imagine a man who explains every emotion immediately, every thought, every intention, every insecurity, before she even asks. At first, it may seem emotionally open, but over time, it removes tension completely. There's no emotional space left. A woman says, "You seemed off today." And instantly, he responds with a 5-minute breakdown about work stress, his childhood, his exhaustion, and why he didn't sound excited on the phone. Again, honesty isn't the issue. The issue is emotional flooding. Mature attraction requires emotional pacing. Confident people reveal themselves gradually, not because they're hiding, but because they're internally regulated. Over-explaining often comes from discomfort with silence, discomfort with ambiguity, discomfort with letting someone wander. And here's the paradox. The moment a man stops over-managing how he's perceived, He often becomes more emotionally magnetic because calm restraint signals self-trust, not performance. And there's another layer to this most men completely miss. A woman asks a simple question. Why didn't you answer earlier? Now, maybe she's genuinely curious. Maybe it's nothing serious. But the man reacts like he's already guilty. He starts talking fast, over-explaining every detail. I was busy. My phone died. I didn't want to reply quickly because I was driving. I wasn't ignoring you, I promise. Suddenly, a small moment feels emotionally heavy. This is called emotional amplification. When someone reacts too defensively, the brain subconsciously assumes there must be something important underneath the reaction. It's similar to interrogation psychology. People often look more suspicious when they over-defend harmless behavior, and attraction works the same way. Calmness communicates confidence. Over-explanation communicates internal instability. Now, this doesn't mean you should become emotionally unavailable. A secure man can absolutely explain himself when needed. But there's a difference between communication and emotional pleading. One comes from clarity, the other comes from fear. And women can feel the difference immediately. Here's something surprising. Research in interpersonal psychology consistently shows that emotionally secure people tolerate misunderstanding better than anxious people do. Think about that carefully. Emotionally secure people do not panic every time someone sees them imperfectly. Why? Because their self-worth is not fully dependent on external validation. So let me ask you something. How many conversations in your relationships were actually communication? And how many were attempts to regain approval? That question changes everything. A man and woman are arguing. She becomes emotional. Her tone sharpens. She accuses him of being distant lately. Now, most men move into one of two extremes. Either they become defensive and over-explain, or they shut down completely. But emotionally strong masculinity sits in the middle. He listens. He stays composed. He doesn't rush to save himself emotionally. He says something simple. I understand why that hurt you. That wasn't my intention. Let's talk about it. And then, silence. No performance, no courtroom defense speech, just grounded presence. This matters because nervous systems mirror each other. A calm nervous system often regulates the emotional environment around it. That's why mature women are deeply drawn to emotional steadiness during tension. Not perfection, steadiness. A man who can tolerate emotional discomfort without collapsing into explanation feels rare today, because most people are emotionally reactive. They need immediate reassurance, immediate clarity, immediate emotional control. But grounded masculinity understands something powerful. You do not need to explain every part of yourself to remain worthy. And once a man understands that, his entire energy changes. Which brings us to the deepest point of all. This is the part nobody talks about. Most over-explaining is actually self-abandonment. A man senses possible rejection and instantly disconnects from himself to manage someone else's emotions. He stops being authentic, stops being centered, stops being calm. Now his entire focus becomes, how do I make her see me positively again? And ironically, that energy pushes attraction away faster. Because attraction requires emotional weight, presence, grounded identity, self-respect. A woman can disagree with a man and still feel deeply attracted to him. But when he abandons himself emotionally to regain approval, something changes subconsciously. She stops feeling his center. Now, imagine the opposite. She pulls away slightly. He notices it. But instead of panicking, he stays emotionally balanced. He doesn't become cold. He doesn't punish her. He doesn't chase reassurance. He simply remains connected to himself. And suddenly, her emotional curiosity returns. Why? Because emotional certainty is attractive. Not fake alpha behavior, not arrogance. Self-possession. That quiet feeling of, I respect your feelings, but I'm not going to emotionally unravel just because tension appeared. That energy changes relationships completely. A lot of men learned very early in life that love must be maintained through performance. Be more agreeable. Explain more. Convince people you're good. Avoid disappointing others. And over time, they become emotionally exhausted because they are constantly managing perception instead of living with internal peace. But mature love doesn't grow through constant self-defense. It grows through emotional safety. And emotional safety is created when two people can remain honest without abandoning themselves. That's the deeper truth here. The woman didn't suddenly regain attraction because he used some tactic. She felt the difference when he stopped operating from fear, when he stopped trying to earn understanding every second, when he stopped emotionally chasing approval. For the first time, he felt calm. Real confidence is not controlling how others see you. Real confidence is surviving misunderstanding without losing yourself. And strangely enough, that's often the exact moment attraction returns. If this resonated with you, there's a good chance you've experienced this pattern without realizing it. Maybe you thought you were communicating better, when in reality, you were anxiously trying to hold the relationship together through explanation. And most men never notice the difference. So I want to ask you something. Have you ever looked back at a relationship and realized the more you tried to explain yourself, the weaker the connection became? I genuinely like to hear your experience in the comments. And in the next video, we're going to talk about something deeply connected to this. Why emotionally calm men create obsession without chasing attention. Because attraction is rarely built through pressure. It's built through emotional gravity. Some men speak constantly, trying to be understood. Others become understood because their presence already speaks for them. And that changes everything.